So this will be the last of the chapter 6 lectures, and what we're looking at here is what do we do with the remaining waste. There is going to be waste. Nothing's for free. Second law of thermodynamics, we have entropy. So what do we do with the rest? And there's different methods of dealing with stuff. One is burning the solid waste, and that was done. People used to burn their trash here in Southern California, which caused a lot of our smog that we used to have here. It's now illegal to burn trash in your backyards without a permit, and those permits are pretty specialized. It does reduce trash volume, so it doesn't end up in landfills. It is possible to produce energy. You're probably, I guarantee you're not old enough, but used to be when you drove down the 60 freeway at night, you'd see a burning flame. And that was actually right there at the 60 and the 605. There is a landfill there, and they were burning methane gas. They don't do that anymore. That is actually harnessed for energy, and parts of Rio Hondo College is running off of that. And so things have changed. Last year, year before, I was driving down the 101. There is still a landfill burning trash off the 101 that you can see at night. I forget how high up, maybe below Santa Barbara, maybe above Santa Barbara, I don't remember. Right around Santa Barbara, either north or south of that. But anyway, so it produces energy. It does concentrate hazardous substances in ash for burial, and you can actually sell the energy. So it's expensive to build these really functional waste burning facilities. It does produce hazardous waste. It does emit CO2, and it doesn't really attack the ideas we need to stop producing solid waste. All right, sanitary landfills. We have landfills now. A dump and a landfill is really two different things. A dump is just what it sounds. You drive up and you dump stuff. A landfill is where they take the trash, and it's usually covered a couple times a day. This reduces pests, it reduces odors, it reduces fire. And so that's typically what we're using today. And unfortunately, the layers will start leaking. We don't do anything perfectly. But anyway, take the Bio 6 class if we ever get to teach that again. And one of the things we do is visit the local landfill right there off the 6605. Hazardous waste, a little more, what do we do with this? 3 different management levels. One, again, is produce less. Try to convert some into less hazardous substances before it's dumped. There's actually a lab in Bio 4 that we do. We use a chemical that is very toxic to fish, but by adding another chemical to it, it actually neutralizes it and makes it very safe. And so there are ways to do that and put the rest in long-term safe storage. What long-term means and what safe is, 2 different things, I suppose. The bottom line is, again, prevention. The less hazardous waste we can make, the better off we are. Okay, so how are they regulated here? Most of the e-waste in the United States that is not reburied, recycled, buried, or incinerated was shipped to China, India, and other Asian and African countries. The transfer of such waste from more developed to less developed is banned now under the Basel Convention. We could still do it because we did not ratify it. We were part of it, but we never ratified it, so it made it legal for us technically to go ahead and continue to ship it. So we were shipping most of our stuff to China. Well, China now being a more developed country as they work toward it is no longer accepting our waste because of the Basel Convention. All right, so let me go over 2 more points here. And then, so we had the Basel Convention, again, ratified by 179 countries. We actually signed the treaty, but then we didn't ratify it. So we were part of it. but we were one of the countries that decided not to take part. You can see there's a few brown ones there. And again, it was the thought process of the presidents at the time that it hurts our economics. Stockholm Convention on Persistent Organic Pollutants, POPs. We mentioned this once before. Regulates, it used to be 6, but now it's 12 most widely used organic pollutants, the dirty dozen, and these were banned outright too. So again, if we do use these, and they are still being used in limited doses, very special ways on how to treat those, and these cannot go into a typical landfill. They must go into a hazardous waste landfill. So these are the ones that we are trying to ban altogether. Can we encourage reuse and recycling? We need to reduce resource use and to reuse and recycle both solid and hazardous waste at different levels, both local, national, and global. The problem is we have artificially low prices. We need full cost pricing from cradle to grave. So if we make it expensive, we will make less of it. The problem is right now we don't, to encourage the lack of use of this stuff, we need to come up with tax breaks and subsidies to make it more likely for them to change. If we do not tax the companies from pulling it out, if we do not have full cost pricing, and the new industries coming up that are trying to go away from it, there's not a tax incentive, companies are very unlikely to do it. And the demand and pricing for recycled materials fluctuate, which makes it hard for companies to recycle and use recycled products, because if the price is not high enough, it is not collected. And so the demand for product, or at least for some of these companies, for the raw materials or the recycled materials to come in to use again, is not consistent. Makes it very hard to make money that way. All right, 2 more Vogel principles, and we'll call it a day. One is page 108, number 20. From a long-range viewpoint, efforts to modernize undeveloped countries may be unwise and unrealistic, since they are often presently closer to quasi-equilibrium with the environment than our industrialized nations. More countries want to be like us. They want to have our products. They want to have our big homes. We're seeing that everybody wants to be a developed country, and by 2035, that's what Bill Gates is saying. The problem is, if they all live like us, we are in trouble. We're going to be in a pile of trash. I'm not saying they don't deserve better. What I'm saying is we probably deserve less. We have to find ways of cutting down our footprints, and we'll talk about our footprints later. I think next week, actually. All right, and then the next one is 108, number 21. Some people in countries are able to indulge in luxuries and exercise affluence practices because the majority of people in the rest of the world are not demanding or getting their full share. Again, we are pigs. A developed country is not a place where the poor have cars. It's where the rich ride public transportation. We have got to get better. You know, it is not right that we live the way we do where so many people suffer. And that's a lot of our justice problems, even our medical problems today. That is why we have people protesting in the street. You know, and it's hard to say, you know, when you're on the top end of this, it's a good thing. So I'm going to go ahead and close it on that. So stop the share and stop the recording.